start with doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be with what you stay with. But if you can just kind of pick something and investigate it a little bit and see if it works for you. And if it doesn't, do it again picking something else. There is an assessment that's available via the Career Center, the big Career Center, called Career Leader. And it was developed by a couple of Harvard professors, and it's totally focused on business. So with a lot of assessments, they'll say, you could be an accountant, or you could be a nurse, or you could be, a bomb diffuser. Not helpful, right? Too broad. This one just talks about business careers, so it helps you narrow a little bit. I wanted to talk about financial roles a little bit, because I know that this is an advanced Excel class, and this is a topic, crazily enough, that's dear to my heart. If you picked a financial analyst position, if that's what you wanted to do, something around finance, or if you decided that you wanted to go into one of these industries, private equity, investment banking, management consulting, they're all really premier industries, and they pay a ton, and they're hard to get into. But in order to get into any of those kinds of roles, you have to have advanced Excel skills. The employers, they want this kind of experience. So what you're learning here is really valuable if you are interested in any of those kinds of things. And those are some of the things that employers talk to me about, some of those functions. And what you do with it is you create financial models. And some of the financial, or statements, ratio analysis, those kinds of things. And if you have those two things combined, it's really helpful for getting internships and jobs. And a lot of our students, we have 1,400 grad students, and probably most of them did not graduate from CU Denver. So it may not have been a requirement for them to have advanced Excel. And so they have to try and figure out where they can learn it elsewhere, and then try and come up to speed. So it's better if you can do it now. So beyond those advanced Excel skills, they want more of that package. So you have to be able to do, for those roles, financial modeling using advanced Excel. But then beyond that, you have to do a lot of things, because they're not going to take one of these resources and put them in a dark room somewhere where all they do is drill down on data all day long. You have to be able to do something with the data after you build those models. And you have to be able to analyze and interpret it, because otherwise it's just numbers on a piece of paper. You have to be able to draw some results from it and make recommendations based on those results. So, again, it's not just the data they want to know what you think about it. And they want you to be able to communicate it in a clear and articulate manner. And the way that you'll articulate it is by talking to people, but also by doing emails and sometimes reports. Reports aren't used as much as they used to be. A lot of the corporations and the firms are doing PowerPoint now, because they would do these big reports that no one ever read, because they were big reports, and they frequently were not all that exciting. So a lot of the companies are using PowerPoint now for taking that data and making recommendations. So so just being on the surface of these programs, you can do a little bit. But if you go deeper in them, you can really make them work very, very well for you. So I encourage you to do that. I see lots of resumes, and I'm sure that a lot of people who give me these resumes think they know how to use Word, and I question whether they really do or not. The fake bullet syndrome, where it's not really a bullet. I don't know what it is. So that was a little aside that kind of drills down into what you guys are doing. But, back to the resume, having it up to date and an easy to read format. Simple, not too much different fonts, tons of bolding, different colors. Don't do it in design. First resume I've ever seen was when I came to CU Denver in design. And it's too hard to change anything on it. And it's unwieldy size-wise. The only way I knew that that's what the resume was, we tried to upload it into our database and it wouldn't go because it was too big. So use Microsoft Word for your resumes. Measurable where possible. Some companies force you to do one page. They'll say on their websites that they'll only accept a one-page resume. So if you have to do, maybe have two versions if you have enough experience. One a one-page and one a two-page. And you can make a two-page and one-page pretty easily with, making your margins tiny and your fonts small and that sort of thing. If a recruiter or some hiring managers look at your resume, they might spend 5 seconds on it. And I have a search company that I've had for 14 years, and I know this to be true. I can look at a resume under 5 seconds and decide if I want to look further or delete. So you don't have much time. You have to get your message across pretty quickly. Some of the components of a resume that I think are important, you could ask 10 different people how resumes should be and probably get 12 different opinions from 10 people. Everybody disagrees. This is what I like. I like an objective, not a long one, right, where you go on and on and on and on. Something kind of brief that says, I'm looking for a financial analyst position in a corporate environment, or I'm looking for a marketing position. Just something that you can kind of call it so that the reader knows what you're interested in, because you may not have the experience that supports what you want to do. But if you do, if you've been a marketing person for the past 8 years and you want another marketing role, then you probably don't need an objective. But if you want to do something different, or if you want to do something that's not supported by your experience, then I think it's good to have one. Summary of qualifications, a bulleted summary of why you might be good for that marketing position. So it might, start out Bachelor of Science Marketing, student, relevant coursework includes, maybe put some of your marketing classes, if you have any internship experience, in social media, some of the social media things that you know about, but something that really kind of supports that objective of what you want to do. Because again, sometimes in the other part of your resume, you don't have any experience that supports what you want to do. But hopefully some of your academic experience will support it. And for example, if you want marketing and you want something with social media, you probably all have Facebook accounts and all that, but that's not really what they're looking for. A company that's looking for social media experience is looking for somebody to set up a corporate presence on Facebook or on LinkedIn. So if you can go out and get that experience, even if you're doing it for a family, a friend's business or something like that, it's good to have been able to do that. Education, in your case, it's always going to go pretty high up in the resume. Start with, this experience first, and you don't have to put high school on it. You can if you want, but you don't have to. And then professional experience. If you don't feel like what you've done is interesting, come to my office. We'll make it interesting. I can make just about anything interesting. Talk about, if you worked at a restaurant, how many people did that restaurant serve in a day, or something measurable that gives it a little bit more description than just said server in a restaurant. There's more that you can add that makes things interesting and that shows people that you have some skills that are leverageable. Community activities, if you do, belong to clubs volunteer work. That's good information too. Technical skills, if they're, your advanced Excel skills and things like that, I would actually put under summary qualifications. I wouldn't leave it at the bottom of the resume because you don't know if anybody's going to get to the bottom of the resume. LinkedIn, you just have to do it. You just have to. It is not a single thing like Facebook. The two of them have nothing in common. Facebook is a social network for the most part. LinkedIn is a business network. There are like 225 million people on LinkedIn, and in like 60 or only like 40% of them, or 45% are in the U.S. So it's a very international kind of a network. I've been using LinkedIn in my recruiting business probably since 2005. I'm like number 92,000 something out of 225 million. So I like it. It's helped me make a lot of money because I find candidates for my searches on it. And ultimately, you want somebody to find, some business to find you one. And it may not be the first job out of your undergrad, but it very well could be your second job that a recruiter calls you because they found you on LinkedIn. So your picture should be professional and friendly. No sports gear, no dogs, no alcohol, none of that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be stiff, but just nice. The summary is one of the only areas that you can really write in the first person. You can say, I'm a Bachelor of Science Marketing student at University of Colorado Denver Business School. Some of the courses that I've taken are, and you can kind of mirror what you've done in your summary of qualifications on your resume in the summary on LinkedIn. But you can talk in it about things that you like to do. But don't touch anything that's controversial, but if you like to ski, if you like to volunteer, if you have causes that you're really interested in, it's more, it shows you more as a whole person than what the resume can do. And be sure and include your contact information on it. Because if you want somebody to find you, they have to be able to find you.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Your email address, it will ask you to create another profile, which you don't want to do. So just try and get all your email addresses in there. And more people will look at your LinkedIn profile than will ever look at your resume. If you're going someplace for an internship or a full-time position and they have your name, you can pretty much be assured that they will have checked you out on LinkedIn. And so if you're not there, they're going to wonder about that. And if you're there but you have not a very well-developed profile, they're going to wonder about that. If you don't have very many connections, they're going to wonder about that. So, start early and get it built. Freshen up your network. If you don't have a network, start your network. If you got on it and you just have a few connections and then you just didn't look at it, for a couple of years, go back in, make sure your profile is strong. And on our website, I have 2 different things about how to build your profile with a lot of detail and how to set up your network. So there's a lot more information. But always, when you have the opportunity to invite someone, generally, you need their email address. And if you join groups, like there is a UC Denver Business School group, there are probably groups around things that you want to do in your career, different disciplines, young professional associations. There are, I think, over 2 million groups on LinkedIn that you can, have the potential of joining. You can join 50 at a time, which sounds like a ton, but I always have 50 at a time because it serves my other business too. Invite people you know, but if you only invite people in your close circle of friends, then your network can't branch out very much because you're going to be with the same people who know the same people. It's going to be pretty small. But if you invite the people that you know, join groups, then you can start inviting people that you don't know. Like you should all invite me because I've got a decent sized network and that helps yours be bigger. And the reason why you want a large network is so that you can see out and so people can see you. If anybody have a company that they want to work at, just shout it out. Anything?
Red Bull.
Red Bull? Okay. So you could do a search on LinkedIn in their advanced search section where you just put in company name, Red Bull, and then put current only. And maybe you put 80202 with like a 50-mile radius. So it's going to pull up all the people who work at Red Bull who are on LinkedIn in the Denver metro area. And you might see some in there that are, like HR people, or you might see whoever runs Red Bull in this region, and you could reach out to them. And if you want to work there, I mean, that's some great information. Let's say you get an interview, you're going to be able to look up the person who's going to interview you and know what their background looks like. And you can see, is there anybody who graduated from CU Denver Business School who works at Red Bull? So it's just a tremendous amount of information. And as you get further in your career, if somebody's doing a search for people who worked at a consumer product goods company like Red Bull, they could find you, that you ultimately work there. So it's, do it. Sometimes a great job just flies into your life, but you can't count on the fact that it's going to happen. I wish it could. There probably was a job market 30 years ago that things like that happened, but unfortunately it's not the case today. So, if you figure out what your starting point is, and you make a short list of target companies in that area. So maybe not just Red Bull, but maybe companies like Red Bull, if you like that kind of a company. And you can do that just by doing research. And this research is probably going to be easier and probably more beneficial to you ultimately than the research you've done for 20 projects that you've done across the course of your academic career. And then you can look at those companies. What we've done in my group is we have taken the Denver market of companies and segmented it into 20 pieces. And so we might have a segment that's on sustainability, or marketing agencies, or oil and gas companies, or, you name it, 20 of them. And we have that in one of our databases that you can access. And so if you know that you want to look at an oil and gas company, it has the big ones in the Denver metro area. It has their name, the link to their website, and a little paragraph about them. So it's kind of like shopping a little bit. So, if you guys email us, we'll get you into that database so you can access that information. But doing your research, use, Google them. In LinkedIn, they have company pages. Have any of you ever used Glassdoor? Glassdoor is awesome. And through our website, you can get onto Glassdoor so they don't bug you and say, put in this information, put in that information. So you can get straight in. On Glassdoor, you could look up Red Bull in Denver, and you could potentially see different jobs and see what they pay. So it's all self-reported, kind of a little bit like Yelp, kind of a little. But it has salaries, and it has interviews. So it might have people who interviewed at Red Bull and what the interviews were like. They ask questions, have you ever had a situation where you had a terrible coworker, and what did you do? They might ask those kind of questions, or they might ask, they talk about all the different kinds of things. So some companies are better than others as far as having much information, because it's all self-reported. So the bigger the company, the more stuff you're probably going to see on it. But it is great information, Because if you're thinking about a company and you get on there, I mean, knowing that most people who write on those sites are not happy people, right? Just like in Yelp, nobody else was terrible. But you're gonna see trends. You know, if everybody's saying, you know, you're never gonna get a promotion, they never give raises, you know, you're gonna see different things that too many people are saying exactly the same thing.